Hi, everyone. My name is Jehan Ara. I am the founder of the Nest.io, and this is a special edition of the Nest.io Startup Pulse. So, all of us know that digital transformation as a concept is not something that is restricted to or driven by just startups or tech companies. Large and conventional organizations are also now identifying tech transformation as not only a necessity, but a major source of competitive advantage. There is a realization that creating a tech ecosystem is a combination of varying expertise and may require some unconventional partnerships. It is often easier to partner with experts instead of building expertise in-house. What we've seen recently in Pakistan is that corporate giants like Unilever have started to drive digital transformation not only intrinsically, but have also ventured into the space of platform creation with the intention of creating digital channels and disrupting the value chain. Today, we will be talking about one such platform. It's called Munchies, and it is a hyper-local channel created by Unilever in partnership with VentureDive. So let me introduce our panel, which is a very high-powered panel. First, we have Amir Paracha. He's the chairman and CEO of Unilever Pakistan Limited. He joined the board on 1st February 2020. Besides being on the board at Unilever Pakistan Limited, he's also the CEO of Unilever Pakistan Foods Limited. He joined Unilever Pakistan in 2000 and has held various senior management positions in Pakistan and North Africa, Middle East cluster over his 20 years with the company. Then we have Atif Azim. Atif is the founder and CEO of VentureDive, a technology solutions company that develops and invests in products that positively impact the lives of millions globally. He's a seasoned professional with over 15 years of experience in the technology industry across Silicon Valley in the US, UAE, and Pakistan. Prior to this, Atif was founder and vice president of solutions at Fmcg, a San Francisco-based technology startup that was later acquired by Cisco Systems. While at Cisco, he was responsible for growing the network security product line. Next, we have Syed Fawad Ahmad. Syed Fawad Ahmad joined Unilever Pakistan in 2005 as a management trainee in the customer development department. Over his 15 years with the company, Fawad has built well-rounded expertise in various local and global roles. He worked in customer development in Vietnam as the CD manager before taking on an extended international stint in Unilever's global CD operations based out of Singapore. Since the start of 2020, Fawad has assumed the responsibility of Director Digital Strategy and Transformation for the recently introduced function. In addition to this, he's a member of the Unilever Pakistan Management Committee. Last but not least, we have Saad Fazil. Saad is the co-founder and managing director at VentureDive, a technology incubator where he heads products, marketing, and investments. He's also on the board at Plan X. Prior to VentureDive, Saad advised Kareem on the product technology and design, led a portfolio of mapping and location products at Here, a leading mapping company that was acquired by a consortium of German car manufacturers, evaluated US-based startups as a member of 4G Venture Forum, wrote opinion pieces for VentureBee and GigaOM, and taught at Stanford and Harvard. He is an MIT alum. So as you can see, very high-powered panel. So let's get right into it. We've got some questions that I have put together, but then we will open it up to participants to see if they have specific questions. So the first question is for Unilever, and I'll put this to Amir. Amir, as I understand it, the concept of having an online snack delivery platform was your brainchild. Talk us through this, how and why you thought of this concept.
It's interesting, because the inception of the idea started from the very own your premise. And I think this was back 2 years back when we were at your premise. We carried out a hackathon. And it's interesting, we never realized that it will get to this stage because it was just one of the activities. Well, the way it started was, as you know, that Unilever is into ice cream business. And we are primarily selling ice cream through around 70,000 cabinets, which are actually placed out at the retail shops. But we also do have these trikes, which has this walls jingle playing for the last 2 decades, which goes through the street, and it's kind of a Pavlov theory where it does the conditioning. Whenever the jingle basically bells, the kids run out of the home for an ice cream. The problem is this, that, it's very capital intensive. We have not been able to scale it up in the last 2 decades. We have only 5,000 trikes. Given the size of the country and the population, I think so we need more than 100 to 200,000 trikes. But the ROI is not very good. Plus, being present at any street is very difficult, because ice cream is a very impulse category. And so is any snacking business, be it chocolate or be it any kind of a crisps. So that idea came that, how we can Uberize the delivery of ice cream at a press of a button, because it's impulse, you have a craving and you feel like having ice cream. Unlike in US, where people basically stock ice cream at home, Pakistan do not basically have this habit of stocking ice cream at home. And then you basically being lazy to get out of home and basically buy ice cream, and then you munch on anything which is available at home. So we thought, why not to basically create an app that would basically give access to the consumers, primarily the millennials, that they can actually access ice cream or any other munching item at the press of a button in a shortest possible time in order to basically fulfill this craving. That was the entire idea. And if you were to look at, over the last 6 months, a lot of ground has been managed, and we are happy to be working with VentureDive, because, had we tried doing it ourselves, this wouldn't have been possible, because Unilever is a legacy company. We are more into, consumer goods product. We are not a tech company. And I think that this has been a brilliant idea, where we basically joined hands with VentureDive, been working with the last 2 years, and here we are.
I always forget to unmute. Yeah, great story. I remember when you floated this idea actually yourself at the Nest.io during the Walls hackathon that we had. And then some of the kids really took it on, and I'm glad that it was not just a hackathon that resulted in nothing, but went on to something real. So I'll come to you now, Atif. When were you guys involved, and what was your first impression of the concept and the idea?
Assalamu alaikum, Jehan. VentureDive started working with Unilever a while back, and I think it was pretty soon after the hackathon that happened at the Nest, the innovation hackathon that Amir was referring to. And honestly, for us, what hooked us on was the concept. The concept that a large forward-facing MNC like Unilever wanting to work with a tech company like VentureDive to really disrupt the industry both locally and regionally. And I think you've probably heard me talk a few times, and how I harp about the fact that, look, if innovation is to succeed in Pakistan and flourish, you need all the different stakeholders to collaborate to make it work. And meaning you need the universities to churn out good talent, you need the financiers to kind of invest in these ventures, and then I've always said you needed the industry to support this innovation. So, when a company the stature of Unilever comes to talk to, a tech company to look how they can collaborate together to, bring innovation, for us, that was the hook, right? That was the fact that, hey, there's a company that subscribes to the same thought process as us. We need to work together and figure out how to disrupt together. So the concept really hooked us first. And then, of course, the idea itself was also very fascinating. So when Amir and his team first came and discussed the idea around the ice cream industry, right? We discussed it further. We started talking about the snacking industry and the economics behind it. And what initially we thought of as a project-based engagement quickly morphed into a much longer, deeper relationship, to the point where we are here today, both Unilever and VentureDive, announcing the launch of the Munchies platform. So we're super excited about being able to disrupt this this industry together.
Great. Okay, so maybe Fawad, you can chime in. This is an extremely unconventional route, and it's quite different from the conventional Unilever business models. Why do you think creating a platform serves you better than partnering and investing in already similar established models that are available?
Yeah, so thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So I think it's an interesting question because we also grappled with this question when we were, given the opportunity to either do this on our own or work with existing models. I think, as Amir explained, when it came to say ice cream in general, but overall snacking, there wasn't any platform that existed back then. But we knew that the demand was there, given how young the population is, how they're always on, digitally savvy, and we kind of also had inspiration from places like in the in the American market, where you have GoPuff, you have Getter in the Turkish market, and we had those instances where we wanted to kind of see if those things were going to come into Pakistan. We would have partnered, but given that you know things at times tend to take time, we said why not take it on ourselves, because we felt in the case of ice cream, where expanding the trikes or the cabinet is very cost intensive, maybe this is a much cheaper way or efficient way, and it's also very engaging way for the consumers to kind of have this, so that you kind of bypass the entire the as they say, the tunnel value chain, so to speak, model, and move to a platform which would help unlock a lot of the inefficiencies which we see in the marketplace through intermediaries. So that's really the intention, and that's where we're also focused on keeping the consumer at the center. We found there is a need. It's a big growing market, and we kind of decided to collaborate and get it going.
Okay, so any of you, so how has the journey been so far? Anybody, feel free to jump in. Amir, Atif, Saad, Fawad.
Saad, you want to go first?
I can take this. So I think journey has been very exciting. So we started really testing the grounds around November, December last year with beta users, and we learned quickly from the early feedback, the product market fit and whatnot. And we have now actually only recently in the last 2 weeks or so, we have been able to cover all of Karachi. One of the biggest complaints that we got from our users in App Store and Google Play and whatnot was that they would download the app and they will not, we will not be operating in their area. So it was the biggest request: when are you coming in our neighborhood? So I think we are now in virtually all Karachi. There are still some areas which are not covered, but you can practically say it's 100% of Karachi almost. So far, we have really pushed on the organic growth. I'm a firm believer in organic growth. We have spent some budget on promotions and paid acquisition, but we haven't really spent even 1% of what we want to spend on marketing so far, because we were really testing the waters and pushing the limits on the organic growth. And I think going forward, you will see that we will actually be playing a more active role, pushing more paddle on the paid acquisitions and promotions, etc. So I think in Karachi, there will be a lot more promotions, a lot more paid acquisitions, etc. But I think without even those promotions and paid acquisition, our growth has been really impressive. We were really happy with it. A long way to go. We're only in Karachi, obviously. We would like to be in major cities very soon, hopefully in Lahore and Islamabad in the next 6 months or so. In terms of some of the KPIs, we have more than 50,000 downloads, again, mostly organic. We have about 50,000 active users, monthly active users. And we will continue to push the envelope on this. And I think, again, with more paid acquisitions going forward, I think we will see even more growth. But we've been quite happy with the growth so far.
Okay, so that's very interesting, Saad. But I'm more interested in, as Atif said, this is one of the few times that a corporate the size of Unilever is working with a local tech company to do this. So I'm more interested first to find out what the journey has been in terms of the collaboration that you two have got into. What were the challenges? I mean, it's been 2 years, but what has been the challenges? What did you learn from each other? What were the things that perhaps somebody else who's going into this should keep in mind? There is maybe some interesting anecdotes as to, what
Let
happened.
me try to take it.
Some misunderstanding, whatever.
No, I'll try to take it. So
Okay.
I would say, it's, so I got it, what you're trying to ask. And I think so. It's not been easy, to be honest. It's been tough. The first 1 year was very tough. Why it was tough? Because may not be for VentureDive, because they come from the tech industry. We have been making products for the last, say, 100 odd years. We've been making those physical products. We've been making ice cream and a soap and a soup, but never made a tech product. And the dynamics, the behaviors required to make a tech product is very different than from a soap over soup. And I think so, we really struggled to really understand the unit economics, the overall basically investments that goes behind it, what kind of, costings are. So I think so for us, it's an absolutely green field. There were moments where we were completely in a state of disbelief that tech can actually cost so much, and you have to burn so much money to really get to basically this kind of downloads. Those were really tough in the first 1 year, and then it basically took some time to really understand what's been the dynamic of the industry. So that's one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is really basically on one side there's this agile, lean startup company. On the other side, there's this big behemoth operating in 180 countries, 100-year-old, has its own basically, policies, governance, being watched very closely by the watchdogs. So you got to really basically say how I'm going to dovetail these two very different organizations. Plus globally, never been, Unilever has ventured into this kind of a venture globally, anywhere, be it US, UK, any developed country. So really convincing, the local management, the regional, the global management, and navigating through those corridors has been very, very exhausting process. But thankfully, we managed to convince them. We have formal sign-offs and we have to really go at different layers, but finally basically got it. And, today here we are. So to be honest, not been easy. It's been tough, but I think so if we were to do any other project, it's not going to be as tough because we have gone through these unknown paths of discovery. And I think so we have discovered, and it's been interesting discovery. If I were to look back, and there's been moments of frustration, moments that I say, what, give up, it's not worth my while. And then there were moments, moments of perseverance, resilience, keep, hang in, and it will basically pay off. And I think so we are happy that we basically, stood by, and today, the product is finally being downloaded by 50,000 odd people and counted.
So I would like to add a few things here, Jehan. I think, it's been a very refreshing sort of a relationship. I think we were not sure in the beginning कि यार इतनी बड़ी कंपनी है, आमिर जो है CEO बनने वाले हैं, तो पता नहीं किस तरह का interaction होगा हमारा, right? So I think, but it's been like very open relationship, very open communication channels. आमिर को मैं कभी भी WhatsApp कर रहा होता हूँ रात को, सुबह फवाद को, anybody, right? So, and vice versa. And we had a few meetings in Esquire before lockdown. Esquire Coffee में हमने काफी planning वगैरह की है. So I think the good thing is there is a buy-in from Amir's level, right? Who's the CEO of Unilever, and so the things which would take many months to move forward, we were able to move forward in a few weeks or in a few days. So I think that's very refreshing and encouraging. I think इस तरह का relationship बहुत कम होता है, but I think so far, initially, as Ahmed said, there were challenges, but I think we had the same vision कि यार हमने ये करना है, बड़ी startup करनी है, snacking industry को disrupt करना है, all those things, right? And I think जो core belief था वो सब common था. So I think that really helped us make progress and take us to where we are today. And in the future, you will see more of these things coming to fruition in the news, etc.
Yeah, I think Jehan, just to a little bit to add on to that, right? I think Joe, what I feel, couple of things we did well, right? And I think that is really in this partnership is Saad mentioned the alignment of vision, and I'm not talking about the vision of the Munchies platform and the mission that we have, but really vision in terms of what do we think it would take to succeed, right? With a corporate and a tech company kind of working together. And for example, one of the things we very quickly decided was that Munchies needs to have its own startup culture, right? It could not have the culture of, just Unilever. It cannot have the culture just of VentureDive, but it needs to have its own unique culture. And hence, we very early in our discussions agreed that, this is the way it's going to be structured, etc. That's one example. The second thing is, I think there's a very healthy dose of trust and mutual respect in each other's expertise, right? VentureDive prides itself on its technology. It prides itself on its product thinking. It prides itself on its performance and growth hacking. And Unilever, brings to the table, the fact that it's the industry leader, a lot of knowledge on the industry, good understanding of the dynamics, understanding the supply chain cold, so together we had a lot of complementary skill sets. And I think the respect for each other's expertise and alignment of, what it would take to succeed very early on, I think that helped along the way.
Just adding to what Atif said, Jehan, in terms of, key anecdotes, I think what's helped us is to kind of step into each other's shoes. Looking or hearing of so many terminologies which VentureDive was using, I mean, we were completely baffled. The first time we ever did a design sprint was with VentureDive. And now for a lot of things, that's the kind of thing, the sync ups, the stand-ups and all those, the agile ways of working are things that we're kind of taking on. Equally, we also took the opportunity to bring the entire development team of VentureDive into our factory, into our cold chain, so that they kind of also understand what is it that and why is it that we're doing this. So I think there's been a good amalgam of knowledge, a good transfer of knowledge, but we've stuck to our core expertise and we've trusted, as Atif and Amir and Saad are saying, to what we're good at and kind of do things, bring our combined strengths in a way that we know what are our limits. So, we will not say too much about technology, but yes, we'll all come together, work collaboratively and keep the end consumer at the end of the day, because that's really what we're here to do.
Great. So, they have convinced you to sort of take up the startup culture. Meeting in a cafe in Esquire is very different from what I think Unilever is used to. It's usually in a corporate office, in a conference room, right? So I think well done there. And I'm very happy that you also got it for the iOS platform, because usually when people go this route, they just develop for Android and forget iOS completely until maybe a later date. But that's very interesting. Now, the next question I have is, how has the market reacted and stakeholders on all sides? What has the reaction been?
Yeah, let me take that up. So I think if you ask about the market, and I would say consumer being the first and foremost stakeholder, and as Saad mentioned, it's just, only now that we're scaling up. So the initial reviews have been very healthy, and they do understand they're mostly organic. We haven't done the kind of heavy lifting yet that we want to do going forward. So I think consumers are happy, and we're kind of fulfilling that promise of that timely service, which I think was lacking. We struggled initially, of course, not saying that we got it right in the first go. Even with COVID, I mean, as we were going well, COVID struck, we kind of, pivoted, and we're still kind of doing and holding ourselves accountable to that commitment of that under 30-minute. Most of our, orders are under that, and that's really the first thing. So I feel consumers, in terms of their online engagement, our engagement with our, tech staff, etc., is very good. In terms of receptiveness from, say, the industry, the snacking industry, we've had a lot of companies, both local and MNCs, approach us on their own. They found out about it, they heard about it, they got reviews, they tried it for themselves. So that's good, because we're getting a lot of organic interest in this platform, which kind of goes back to our initial business case, because we know that the market exists. And it's also part and parcel of how we kind of created the brand identity of Munchies. It's like, tongue-in-cheek, funny, kind of a brand identity. And that's something that I think is kind of people are latching on to, and they're kind of getting, becoming more loyal. So I think from consumers and from, say, the industry, I would say positive interactions and positive, responses so far.
So I understand now. So it's gone 50,000 downloads without even trying is quite a large number, especially in Pakistan. That doesn't happen that quickly. But going forward, how do you plan to run the platform, run the organization? What are the long-term plans for this now that it's out there in the open?
Yeah, I can take this. So I think जैसे अभी I think already हमने बात की थी इसके बारे में कि यार we believe in certain core principles, and one of those principles is कि यार if we want to create a really huge disruption in the snacking industry, we have to do it in a startup culture, right? So I think VentureDive की अपनी strengths हैं, Unilever की अपनी strengths हैं, and we want to take on those strengths. But for Munchies, it will be a new entity. अभी तक नहीं बनी, but it will be happening in the next few weeks. It will be a separate entity, legal entity. It will be like any other startup. उसमें उसका अपना CEO होगा, growth manager होगा, marketing, product, all those functions will be there. There will be employee stock options plans, so everyone in the company will get equity. And with the added advantage कि उसमें VentureDive की भी support होगी from the tech perspective and from the growth hacking perspective, and Unilever का भी backing होगी from a supply chain perspective, from an operations perspective. So for example, if you want to launch some exclusives, right? So we plan to launch some exclusive products on Munchies platform, which will not be available on any other product, right? So फूड पांडा एक्सेट्रा ग्रोसरी एप्स है पाकिस्तान में, उनमें वो चीजें नहीं होंगी जो कि आपको मंचीज में मिलेंगी. सो मंचीज एक स्टार्टअप भी होगी, बट उसमें एक यूनिलीवर की बैकिंग होगी और वेंचरडाइव की बैकिंग होगी, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दोस बैकिंग्स one of the things that will happen is that you will get exclusive offerings which you will not find on any other products or even retail stores. So that's the plan. I think उसका जो लीगल जो restructuring है, that's in progress already. Should happen in the next few weeks, if not more. And you know, Munchies will be have its own life as a separate entity going forward.
Okay. So, Amir, I wanted to ask you, why did you decide to create a platform rather than just go on board with one of the multiple e-commerce marketplaces or wait for another external startup to do it?
Well, the reason, it's an interesting one because हमने इसके ऊपर काफी debate की, because this is very unconventional to what Unilever does or any other big FMCG company would do. They will look for a partner or they basically work with any marketplace. One of the reasons we wanted to in Unilever, हम basically channels की बातें करते हैं. हमारे channels होते हैं, selling channels होते हैं. तो मोहल्ला store है, वो एक channel है. You know, likewise, for example, when we sell it to these big supermarket chains, that's one channel. Then we basically sell it to Metro, वो एक channel है. Pharmacy एक channel है. इसी तरह, given the way the entire country and the world is getting digitally wired, you now need digital channels. And we said the way we basically have created our own channels, we need to create our own digital channel. And primarily when it comes to ice cream, Unilever Pakistan has a lion's share of ice cream. So there's not much activity in this area, neither anyone wanting to do it. And neither anyone was interested because people weren't aware. So we thought, why not that we start our own digital channel, and as Atif has also basically suggested that over time it morphed into the munching platform, the snacking platform, starting only from ice cream, and then we said let's take basically chocolates on board, and then let's take confectionery on board, and then let's the drinks on board, and it basically got expanded anything which falls within the realm of munching, and that's what basically it started, and that's the reason we basically got into ourselves, because we weren't finding someone who already started this. It would have taken 5 or 10 years more, and we didn't want to wait that long. B, we didn't find anyone has the interest capability or the funding capability to really get into it. Therefore, हम खुद इसके अंदर enter हो गए. And that's what we basically started off. That was the entire thought process behind it.
So there's some interesting questions that are coming in from participants. So let's take a couple of those before we go back to our own questions. One is there a plan to turn Munchies into a subscription service?
I can take it on. So I think it's a very good question. So I think this is one of the things that we do plan in the future, just say Amazon Prime, right? US may completely disrupted the business models. So definitely, I think Munchies Prime is something to look forward to. But I think we are a little bit early. So we need to educate the market a little bit. So we need to change habits a little bit. So people know they want to buy these snacks, but whether they want to use an app to buy these snacks is something we are really pushing towards, right? So I think it will take some time for us to get to that model, but it's something definitely we've discussed and it is on the roadmap.
I think I just want to add one thing on the subscription model. Do remember that this platform is to kind of, fulfill a demand which is required now. And that's the bulk of our focus in terms of the assortment that you have on the platform. Subscription models usually at times are very well placed for grocery, repetitive or low involvement categories. This is pure impulse, right? Where you're triggering or where I want to have something sugary or something sweet, salty, I'll go online. So I think what we're trying to do is, yes, subscription is, fashionable. Everyone wants to talk about it, but we want to be focused on saying, meeting the requirement now. So our promise remains, whenever you deliver, anytime you want, demand, we'll get it done over to you in like 30 minutes. That's the first thing. The second thing, of course, is we're also looking at other innovations where you could do maybe pre-bookings, etc. If you've got birthday parties and you want munchies for your kids, etc. I mean, those are the kind of innovations which would be more relevant right now for a snacking platform than say a hardcore subscription model.
Right. Okay, another question from Mubashir Sakhi, and I think Amir wants to answer this one. How does the logistic part work? Because last mile is still a problem. Does Munchies have its own fleet, or will you create an aggregator to use current logistic players? How do you intend on managing this?
Well, I think so Fawad and Saad are better equipped to answer it. But no, yes, Munchie has its own fleet,
Okay.
which we are basically its dedicated fleet. We have not actually using any other shared fleet. It's a full dedicated fleet, and we are basically scaling up in Karachi. And that's the model we have actually started from the very beginning, because the nature of the product is very different. Ice cream itself, because you got to have control the temperature all the way from a retail outlet to the consumer. So it's not like any other munching product where you do not have to worry about the temperature. You cannot sustain ice cream in an ambient temperature. So you have those polar bags, where you have to maintain the temperature. So we went for this. The other basically thing which we have been kind of, हमारा जो USP है, जिसको हम अभी भी drive कर रहे हैं, वो है time. And munching is all about impulse craving. यहाँ craving हुई और यहाँ आपको product चाहिए. You do not have the luxury to take basically, say an hour or so. So the entire ecosystem is worked around how we continue compressing time. And I think so one of the metric which is Saad very closely monitor, is what's been the delivery time. And this is one of the key North Star metric we really keep at it, कि हम किस तरह time को basically जो है वो compress करें. And that's the reason we went for our own fleet, because had we gone for the shared fleet, we wouldn't have been able to really crack this North Star which we have been gunning after. If Fawad and Saad want to further add on it.
No, I think you've added it. I just for everyone's information, I think this is, the delivery model is, yes, it's dedicated, but it's very much a hyper local in the sense we've kind of created small units, divided the city into grids. And then those riders are kind of focused there because they need to ensure the quality and the time. And then the tech helps us to optimize where they need to go, how they need to go, and when is it that they need to kind of deliver, how quickly, etc. All those things. So we're using a lot of existing infrastructure. It's not that there are separate warehousing that we've done. We're using stores, normal supermarkets or general stores, use them as stock points. And then the app just connects the closest demand with the closest buddy or the rider fleet in their area and kind of delivers. And I think it's important to understand also one of our key, purposes was to kind of how can we create a disruption in even the the delivery service, so to speak. So the kind of training, the kind of safety focus that we kind of do with our riders, I feel it's kind of up there in terms of the gold standard. And therefore, we kind of want to control that experience completely, but using a lot of already available infrastructure, optimizing further through technology.
Okay.
So I want to add something on to this, Jehan.
Yeah.
I think first thing for all the audience, there will be a promo code exclusive to this panel.
I have been asked that since yesterday. People have been asking, is there a promo code?
There will be one, but उसका wait करें आप. उसके लिए ज़रूरी है कि आप panel को अपना ये पूरा जो webinar है उसको सुने. So I think in the next 10 to 15 minutes, we will announce a promo code, special promo code for a discount and for freebies. So I think just to add on to what Amir and Fawad said, yeah, one of the key differentiators, right, for us is कि यार पता startup lingo में ये बड़ा use होता है word instant gratification. I'm sure कि Jahan, you are aware of it, right? So regardless of impulse buying or not, right? So in general ये होता है कि यार product में instant gratification is very important. तो I think हमारे product में जो एक बड़ा inherent advantage है और opportunity है वो ये कि यार हमारा product is something where people actually want to be instantly gratified, right? अगर आपको आइसक्रीम की अभी desire हो रही है, chips खाने हैं आपने, you want to have it right now, right? So you don't want to, you're not going to plan for it. कि अब 3 घंटे बाद जो chips मंगवाऊंगा मैं, अभी मेरा दिल करा अभी खाना है मैंने. So I think one of the key opportunities for us, as well as differentiators for us, is going to be the time to arrival, right? And right now, I think Fawad mentioned earlier on, we are about 20-25 minutes. In most cases, obviously there are some outliers, but हमारा जो medium to long-term goal है ना, we want to deliver things to your doorstep in less than 10 minutes. I think that's where the real magic happens. So हमारा जो भी business models होंगे, हमारी जो भी product innovation होगी, that will be aligned towards making sure if we can deliver the product to you very quickly. And I think nobody else in the market, groceries हो गई, grocery delivery की काफी startups आ रही हैं पाकिस्तान में, their food deliveries, etc. No one of them can claim that they can deliver a product in less than even 30 minutes. So I think that's going to be our key differentiator and key opportunities going forward.
So interesting point from Fahad Qazi, who's just put in a question, says, why don't you use drones for quick delivery?
Achha, yaar, before I answer that, anyone answer this question, so I have a promo code.
Okay.
It's Nest.io.
Oh, good.
No space, Nest.io, 200 rupees off.
Very good. Okay, so you said you've started in Karachi. Are there plans to bring it nationwide? And when? What's the timeline like?
Let me take that on. So like Saad also mentioned, it's been like 6 months since we've been kind of inching through, munching our way through Karachi. And, you know, we're kind of, you know, just already now covering, I think, approximately 80-90% of Karachi. Still a bit to go in Karachi. So before we start giving out, you know, plans for the future, I think Karachi is one task we want to be completely, you know, comfortable with. Even on the side chat or jo attendees, a lot of them are saying, we don't know about this still. So, you know, a lot of work needs to be done there, but definitely, you know, the munching platform or the snacks platform is a national need. Of course, there are plans to go national. And of course, that will happen, say, you know, in the, you know, the maybe Q4, maybe Q1, but it's going to take some time. I mean, I don't want to say anything up front here, but the fact of the matter is things would have been very different had COVID not hit us. And of course, we want to take things and do them right, because this isn't like Amir and Atif and everyone is saying, this isn't like a tick mark, right? This is really about doing business in the right way, creating value for the consumer and for everyone associated in the ecosystem. So we're going to do this in the right way. Might take a little bit more time. Don't expect Lahore to open up next week. But of course, major cities will be part of our expansion plan.
Okay, there's a follow-up question here from Faisal Hassan. He says, how are you planning to scale Munchies with the suburban market, especially when it comes to last mile? Would you go for a milk run model or a distribution-based model? I don't think you're looking at suburban yet, right?
Well, not अभी देखें कराची को भी अगर आप slice and dice करेंगे कराची के अंदर भी suburban areas मतलब उसमें आते हैं. So for us, we want to go by city and we want to get to the entire population as much as possible. Of course, it's an uphill task, but we will not differentiate कि ये urban है, suburban है. It's wherever the consumer is, we'd want to deliver. But of course, these things will take time. They won't happen overnight.
But I tell you, what's the beauty?
Just wanna.
Go ahead, Saad.
मैं ये कह रहा था कि यार I think अभी तो हम कराची में we're still in very early phases. I think what we want to do is enable a delivery model where we don't have to be there, right? So अभी तो हमारे fleet managers हैं कराची में, management है, supply chain की management है. We are working on a model where we don't have to say कि यार गुजरावाला में launch करना है या अपने मुजफ्फरगढ़ में launch करना है. People should be able to do it on their own. I think it will take some time. I think it's going to be a complete disruption of the existing business models. But I think that's the end goal. Okay? And I'm not going to talk too much detail about this, but I think the plan is that anyone should be able to deliver in any city. Community हम build कर रहे हैं, community of users as well as providers. So suppliers जो आपकी buddies हम buddies कहते हैं अपने system में, जो आपको deliver करते हैं, जैसे करीम में captain का word use होता है, तो हम लोग buddy use करते हैं word. And the concept is कि it's a peer-to-peer model. तो मैं consumer भी हो सकता हूँ, मैं buddy भी हो सकता हूँ. कभी पे जहाँ को मैं जा रहा हूँ बाहर, if I know कि जहाँ wants a Walls ice cream or a Lay's chips, मैं जहाँ के लिए ला दूँगा. But maybe 70% of the time I'm a consumer, 30% of the time I'm a supplier. But I think उसमें थोड़ा time लगेगा उसको build करने के लिए. I think that's going to take a lot of effort, etc. But I think that's the model we want to go towards.
Okay. Ali Farhat wants to know, are your fees going to be fixed or dynamic, varying by time and delivery zones?
Currently, our delivery fee is fixed, but then there are times जहाँ पे हम, if you put in certain things in the basket, they kind of go away. But currently, they're not determined by time or distance because, again, the idea is to be hyper local. So we're not expecting somebody to make that delivery 20 kilometers from one part to the other, right? It's going to be very localized. That's how we get to the under 30-minute, under 25-minute time. So it's going to be kind of fixed, but we also understand the average order value for snacking won't be that high. So that's why the cost structures and everything are designed to keep this very affordable and to keep it very asset light, so to speak.
Okay, there's another question here, which part of it I think Fawad you had covered earlier, is how is Munchies different from, say, Food Panda, and what are the similarities?
Yeah. So I think, yeah, I did mention it. I'll stress again. I think for all those who are joining or joined late or don't know about this, this is really about, snacks, right? So that's the first and foremost. Our proposition is all about snacking, giving a millennial that choice to order their snacks and get it within 25, 30 minutes. And really our aim is not to do grocery deliveries. Our aim is not to do, general food stuff, restaurants or out of home, all those things. So we're kind of sticking to a niche, which we feel is not really a niche. It's still a $2 billion industry, the snacking industry, the on-demand snacking industry. And we're trying to disrupt that. And that's our focus. So Food Panda would be, I think, much more holistic. But one of our key, we're just being very focused from the word go.
We want to go very, very deep, Jehan. So I think, you can even go wide, broad or deep. हमारा फोकस है कि छोटी सी चीज पकड़ो, छोटी सी चीज नहीं है, जैसे फवाद ने कहा $2 billion की इंडस्ट्री है, बट उसमें बहुत डीप जाओ. So snacking, when you think of snacking, you think of Munchies. That's our mission, right? And उसमें जो भी innovations हैं, exclusives हैं, 10-minute ETA है आपका, concoctions हैं, whatnot, right? I think there's a lot of innovation that can happen within that small niche. उसमें हमारा focus है. We're not competing with Food Panda and the likes. I think they're doing a great job in what they're doing, but I think we have a niche which is big enough, and we want to focus on that.
Atif, this is for you. When will Munchies have its IPO at the stock exchange?
One step at a time.
Thinking big.
Bilkul, it's good to think big, but you know, at this point in time, it's all heads down and you know, getting growth.
Okay.
IPO will come in due time.
Right. Let's hope, you know, it could be, you know, the first FMCG startup collaboration that goes IPO. There is a question from, oh, it's gone. Syed Saad Zafar. He says the product range would only be limited to Unilever, or are there any plans to bring other FMCG companies on board as part of the expansion plans?
So if you open the app before the lockdown hours, you'll see a wide range of items. But post the lockdown hours, because we are dependent on stores, so the assortment is then post lockdown hours currently limited to ice cream. We're planning and we're working as the lockdowns are eased, and we're seeing that happen. You know, for the bulk of the time, you'll have, you know, the entire portfolio available. So even going forward, like I said, and like Atif also mentioned, it's all about associating Munchies app with snacking. So clearly the assortment's going to go and increase as we go forward. And it will have local assortments, you know, packaged assortments or so on.
But it's not Unilever, right? So it's
Yeah,
everything.
it's not, it's everything under the sun.
आप अभी भी आप कुछ भी order कर सकते हो snacking in general, right? So
Yeah.
there's a big assortment which is not Unilever.
Somebody has asked, what's the promo code again? I didn't hear the promo code. The promo code is IO.
Nest IO.
Yeah.
Akash
So,
has put it on the chat as well.
yeah, Akash has included that.
मैंने लिखा था chat पे.
हाँ, बिल्कुल लिखा हुआ है and 200 rupees off भी लिखा हुआ है. Okay, there is a question from Kantesh Kihani. Says, hi team, what are your plans to cater distribution challenges? Sometimes the same product is not available and alternative products are delivered instead. Is that so?
Can I take that on?
Yeah.
I'll take that. So I think, again, it's a matter of us learning, and we're getting better at this. We're moving to now location-wise assortment, because originally we had one assortment for the entire, you know, geographic area of Karachi. And we noticed that certain things were not available everywhere. You tend to, I mean, there's a disparity between what is available and what is consumed a lot more in, say, the northern part of the city, say to the eastern part of the city, or even western or south. So those nuances we're building in the tech, and therefore, hopefully, going forward, barring, of course, any major stockouts at a national level, the app should be able to match your kind of, you know, assortment to how, or to your needs, so to speak. And as you will use, you know, the app more, we'll kind of get know more of what you like, and therefore kind of make those things available nearby, etc.
Okay. So there's a question here. Do you plan on expanding Munchies to something larger than just snack delivery, or are you planning to keep it as a snack delivery platform?
Snack delivery.
We want to keep it as snacks. I think snacks is a big enough opportunity. जो मैं deep की बात कर रहा था, we want to go really deep. So I think it's a big market, and we want to really stay with this and disrupt this market.
Atif, any advice for tech companies that want to partner with large organizations?
I mean, I think definitely do it. But what I would say is, you know, जो मैंने पहले दो चीजें बोली थी कि, you know, what I think we did well was kind of align on the vision, as well as, you know, have a good, healthy respect for each other in terms of the skill sets that you're both bringing to the table. And if you align on those two things, I think, you know, you're setting the baseline up for a good partnership. We need more of these. You know, I think, you know, the more industry participation we have in innovation and collaboration between different players, that's what's going to, you know, really make the innovation succeed. And you know, that's what we need more of.
And Mujahid wants to know, after COVID ends, does Unilever plan to hold another such event at the Nest so that more such ideas may emerge. I would love that.
Anytime.
Sorry,
Why not?
you want to answer?
Anytime.
Anytime. Okay, great. So I think we've gone through, there are some duplicate questions, but we've gone through most of them. Are there any last sort of statements that any of you would like to make? Anything that we haven't covered that you feel should be covered?
Yeah, I would say कि especially अगर आप कराची में हो तो please try out Munchies. Nest IO promo code है आपका, 200 rupees off. But more importantly, do try it and give us feedback. I think obviously we are still early. We will make mistakes, but hopefully you will give us feedback and help us improve this.
Okay. Any last statement, Amir?
And we're always looking for good talent. So
if
any of you are interested in joining the party, let us know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. हमें growth में हम लोग hire कर रहे हैं. Obviously, there will be a CEO of the company, so there are a lot of positions open. So reach out to us individually. जो भी आपको better लगता है, Saad at VentureDive.com, Fawad or Amir को reach करो, Atif को reach करो, but do reach out.
Okay, Anas Khan wants to know, Amir and Fawad, do you plan on partnering with other startups, or are you planning on just partnering with VentureDive?
If I may take that on, yeah, there are a number of partnerships that we have, but none as big in scale as I would say, because most of the partnerships, are kind of very limited to a certain, problem solving that we want those startups to help us out with. So वो तो engagement हमारी रहती है. So there's a lot of work that we're doing in the B2B space. There's a lot of work that we're doing in automation, RPAs, etc. in terms of internally. And उनके साथ we're constantly working with a few well-known startups, not so known startups, and that goes on. But I think this, जो अभी relationship है, is a very unique one where we're kind of creating an entire ecosystem with VD, but they're also associated partners, our delivery partners, our marketing partners. They're all very kind of different than what we're used to working with. So we want this experiment to do well. So we baby steps की बात हम करेंगे कि पहली जो चीज़ जिसमें हम ये कर रहे हैं उसको अच्छे तरीके से हम खुश हों, we're happy with this, and then we will kind of start, maybe it will be also something that will be open to share with the industry later on when we have those learnings, because a lot of the questions I'm seeing are things that we're figuring out as we go. So we would be the last ones to say we have it figured all out, of course not. But I think coming back to the industry and saying, guys, this worked, this did not work, this is what we should be doing more of. Absolutely. And to your point, would we want to do this more with Nest or anyone else? Absolutely. Because I think there's overall ecosystem जब अच्छा होगा तो ऐसे businesses thrive करेंगे.
Babar Khan Javed wants to know, what is VentureDive's microservices strategy for Munchies?
Microservices from a
I don't even know
tech perspective, or
sorry?
Microservices as in the technology microservices? Yeah.
I don't know. He hasn't said. All he says is microservices strategy. Babar, if
Yeah.
you are around, please let us know what exactly you mean in.
Yeah, I think Babar, we should hire you, man.
I think so. He has so many questions.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. So I think because microservices obviously is something that we are very familiar with, and we do it for a number of other products as well. And I don't know what exactly you meant to ask, but microservices Munchies में भी है, right? So ETA is a microservice, delivery is a microservice. So but I'm not. I think Atif and I are probably not the best equipped to answer that in more detail. But generally, we are very familiar with microservices, and Munchies में भी वही हम apply कर रहे हैं जो best practices हैं microservices and technology wise.
Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate, I mean, I think the architecture is built on microservices and different services. So each kind of service is built on its own microservice. So if that's the question you were asking, it's already in play.
Okay. Does Munchies have a proprietary formula? Ashfaq Ali Khan wants to know.
Yeah,
They're
we
different
do,
products,
right? So, sorry,
They're different products, right? So
dobara bolo, Jehan.
I said they're different products, right? So how could it be a proprietary formula?
नहीं proprietary formula तो सब मतलब है हमारा भी है, right? So जो हमारा जो delivery का algorithm है, right? It's very proprietary. So obviously it's evolving with time. ये नहीं है कि बन गया है और वही रहेगा. But हमारा जो delivery का algorithm है, इसमें बड़े parameters होते हैं कि आपको fulfillment का एक parameter होता है, आपका route का parameter होता है, routing कैसे करनी है आपने optimize, आपने in the end, what we want to optimize is on ETA and fulfillment, right? We want to deliver the products you want in less than 10 minutes. So uska jo algorithm hai, that's definitely proprietary, and that's something that we want to keep optimizing and want to deliver the thing that you want in less than 10 minutes.
So there's a
Remember I just want to, you asked about anecdotes, right, Jehan? So I remember the old days when we were beta customers. And I remember sharing this with Amir as well, how we were embarrassed in front of our own families, right? So dinner ke baad, bada maine apne bachon ko kya, let's order some snacks, and ice cream. And my kids had a bunch of friends over with them and stuff. And itna embarrassed for, in those early days. But now, we're very proud to say, okay, you can be at the dinner table, right? And during dinner, you can say, let's have ice cream for dessert. And order press kare, and by and large, by the time your dinner it finishes, there'll be ice cream at the door. So the kids are all happy. Your sweet craving your sweet tooth craving has been satisfied, and so the journey has been very fulfilling from that perspective.
Okay, terrific. Fatma Arshad wants to know, this is a question she says for Amir. What is your view of how the food e-commerce white space and how significant will it be for FMCGs?
Well, it's a big space. I think so. Again, if FMCG की अगर हम बात करें, तो Nestle is one big organization which is big in foods, and they have a number of munching items. Likewise, Unilever के अंदर, other than ice cream, we also operate in noodles, and this is another basically stacking munching item. So it's not only the ice cream we basically sell. So I think so. This is and likewise, you look at local organizations, confectionery के अंदर, EBM Foods हो गया, आपका Continental Biscuits हो गया, there's Smile Industries out there. So it's a multinational or a local organization. It's a big white space, and I think so. There's not much work done in this space. The challenge is going to be is how you basically work out an ecosystem that is ROI positive. Putting out a platform is no big challenge. Anyone can basically make an app and actually start putting it. How you basically make this ecosystem works that is profitable, that is ROI positive, uske unit economics work out. So I think so the white space is huge. We have not even scratched it. Let me start by saying that.
There's a question from Azim Makbul. He says, I've joined a little bit late, so not sure whether this question has been answered before or not. What will be the operating hours mechanism, 24/7, and will it be a 30-minute window no matter what hour this request is made?
Yeah, so I answered partially. Originally, in its thinking, it was 24/7, anytime. We know millennials mostly order post 7, 8 p.m. anyways, and especially on weekends, it's a very late night thing. And we were, that's how we designed it. But because of COVID and the lockdowns, we've kind of adapted to those timings to be in line with the regulations, right? So if things will open up, inshallah, of course, this will again become kind of, again, anytime you demand. So it's not, we're not limiting in its original design. It's not about limiting its service. It's about 24/7, 365 days a year, whenever you want it.
Okay, the vision is 24/7 within 10 minutes. Usko reach करने में time लगेगा हमें.
Yeah.
especially because of the lockdown, but the vision stays the same.
Ali Farhat wants to know, are you delivering in gated complexes like Malir Cant area?
So मलीर के अंदर कैंट में अभी शुरू नहीं हुआ है. मलीर में as you know deliveries भी वो गेट तक करते हैं. अभी तक fully सबको allowed at least to my knowledge नहीं है. And you're asked to come in there. So अभी तक मलीर कैंट के अंदर we haven't forayed fully. Naturally there are limitations. Generally cantonment areas, man, of course we have to be mindful of the legalities, so we work with the local authorities. जो allowed होता है करना वो हम करते हैं. अगर any time the cantonments allow people to deliver inside, let us know. We'll be the first ones to give it to you.
Mubashir Safi wants to know, so right now there must be a very high burn rate. When do you expect to break even, and minimum order size you expect to achieve effective unit economics?
So like I said, I'll take this on again. A very initial day, so we're not doing crazy burnouts. Like we said, it's not paid acquisitions. It's kind of a lot of it is organic. So those burn rates are not to the tune of what you guys would be used to or feel a big company like Unilever would do. Do remember, this is not the usual way of doing things. So we're bootstrapping as much as possible. We're being very mindful, as Amir mentioned, of the unit economics. That's critical for us. And like I said, this is not a marketing gimmick where we throw millions or whatever, and then it's just for a tick mark. So we want this to be a sustainable business model. It is something that we're working very hard on through our growth hacking expertise. And I can't give you much details, but I can tell you our average order size has doubled in the last 2 to 3 months. And I think it's growing month on month. And those are the kind of things that we want to focus on. So we're not too hell bent on, do we have the right things? We're venturing towards making this right. So therefore, the burn rates and all those things, I think to be honest, I would answer those if I'm in like 5-6 cities. And then I would say, that's the burn rate. But abhi main Karachi pura nahi kiya. I think it's a bit premature to kind of worry about that.
Okay, so for the techies here, what languages are you using? What is the driving tech behind this app?
Yeah,
very specific.
I'm not very, neither Atif nor I are very techies. But देखिए very high level Java का हमारा backend है और जो apps हैं वो iOS और Android में है. I'm not sure what else the person wanted to ask, but Java, we are a Java shop, Java, iOS, and Android.
Yeah, and cloud-based deployments. I think React for the web platform. But yeah, so if someone's interested in joining the tech team, those are the technology skill sets we should be at.
AWS, Amazon हम use करते हैं.
Okay. And Fahad Qazi still wants to know why you think drones won't work. I mean, it's the fastest way out to delivery. So I don't know. Is it a legal matter? You think drone deliveries will be
not with Munchies, but we've tried to experiment even on normal e-commerce. There are massive civil aviation and a lot of regulations that you have to kind of fulfill, which nobody's allowed to do right now. So yeah, so we are already always experimenting on these things, but it's to do with regulations at this point in time. Also, the fact is, जितने तार कराची में फैले हुए हैं, it's very difficult for the drone to kind of navigate right now. So a little time, but you're right. I mean, that's an exciting area, and I remember this also came as an idea from Nest.io when we were doing the hackathon. And it got close to kind of winning the idea, but I guess it takes time for that to happen.
Would love to hear more. Huh?
Yeah.
If you have any ideas about how we can actually make it happen, technically speaking, reach out to us. Obviously, regulatory challenge हमारे जो हैं वो हम इतना हमारे control में नहीं है. But I think even technically, Pakistan में जो address mapping is not very easy, right? So address mapping is the biggest challenge in terms of how you can actually make it happen using drones. अगर आपके पास कोई ideas हैं कि हम ड्रोन के थ्रू डिलीवरी कर सकते हैं यूजिंग एड्रेसेस, पाकिस्तान के स्ट्रीट एड्रेसेस, तो रीच आउट टू अस.
Okay, there is one more question. Is Munchies a reflection of how digitization will happen within Unilever in the long run? Can we expect to see similar products coming out of various other brands as well?
Well, this is one of the many projects. So certainly, हम Unilever के अंदर there's a big thrust globally and so locally to digitally rewire the organization. And we are working on multiple projects. Munchies is one. We are working on blockchaining. We are working on predictive modeling. We are basically trying to bring a lot of RPAs. We have already introduced RPAs in our factories, and we are also have introduced in few functions in our head office. तो काफ़ी प्रोजेक्ट्स चल रहे हैं, काफ़ी काम चल रहा है इस एरिया के अंदर, मुख्तलिफ वेंडर्स के साथ चल रहा है, मुख्तलिफ पार्टनर्स के साथ चल रहा है, कुछ इन हाउस है, कुछ यूनिलीवर के ग्लोबल सपोर्ट्स हैं. बट ये जो हमारी रिलेशनशिप है मंचीज वाली वेंचर डाइव के साथ, दिस इज अ वेरी यूनिक नेचर. वी don't have any such relationship with any other vendor. It's more on project basis, but yes, a lot is happening in the space of digitization on different fronts to really rewire or digitally rewire the entire organization.
Okay. Amir, this is, I think, again for you. With the exception of Unilever Pakistan, why don't other executives invest in innovation or transformation proactively? What do you think is keeping C-suite executives back?
Well, I think so. They are more suited to really give an answer to this question. I may not be the right person to really comment on their behalf, but I personally think there has been interest developing in this field. A lot of C-suite executives are making investment. They are putting in time. They are putting in effort. They are basically attracting talent into this organization. So slowly but surely, the landscape of Pakistan is changing. And I think so soon there's going to be a tipping point where we'll see, and already we have started seeing, जितनी investments आ रही हैं, जितनी fundings आ रही हैं, आपके पास जो basically venture capitalists आ रहे हैं, local funds आ रहे हैं, and I think so this is clearly just the beginning of a new landscape that's taking place in Pakistan.
Yeah. I think, we've heard this from many executives now that unless they sort of transform, unless they innovate, large organizations are going to become, redundant. So I think everybody is trying. Some of them are not succeeding as easily. Perhaps more partnerships are what's called for rather than trying to do things in-house. Oh, I think there are more questions. I thought we were just going to end, but
yeah,
I'm so curious. Oh, they have answered. Some people are not listening and want to know why don't you collaborate with Food Panda and other existing apps. So I think we answered that question already.
Yeah. If I take 10 seconds more, Food Panda के साथ हमारी, for different things already partnerships चल रही हैं. But like we said, our play here is snacking. And right now for them, their focus is split across the food industry, restaurant industry, and now grocery. So for them to get to the snacking will take some time. Maybe they can do it earlier even, but always, all companies will always have certain core services that they will always be focused on. So for Munchies, the core will always be snacking. I can't say what the core focus will be for Food Panda. So we want to do things जो हमारा core focus होगा, and we feel we're able to crack this, the way we're doing it.
Okay, and Hadi Zaidi wants to know, just wanted to ask about the delivery time. Saad said that the vision is to make it, deliver the product in 30 minutes. I think Saad said the eventual mission.
Yeah.
The vision is to deliver it in 10 minutes. Yeah. But he says, considering that Daraz and TCS, the minimum time they follow is 1 hour, how can you make it to 30 minutes considering the traffic problems in Karachi?
I'd say the answer to that, I'll say, Saad, the answer to that is that the person should order and find out for themselves. Talk to the rider who comes, get the answer, and you'll be surprised how it's done.
Also, I think it's hyper local, right? So you're
Correct.
trying.
That's
Yeah.
हमारा जो product है is very hyper local, right? दराज का
Yeah.
product आपका local कहाँ available होता है, right? So I think inherently snacking is very hyper local. As I think we alluded earlier, अभी current time is not 10 minutes, it's 20-ish minutes. But I think the vision is to bring it less than 10 minutes. I think that's going to be a key differentiator for us.
Okay, guys, I think we have covered most of the questions. There are still some left, but I think there is a lot of overlap in the questions as well. So unless there's something that you guys want to say, we should consider winding up and wishing you luck on Munchies and it growing beyond Karachi and to the rest of Pakistan, especially to the smaller cities who would really like something exciting to happen there rather than it being restricted to Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad. We often get these complaints that how come anything innovative always starts in the larger cities. So we're hoping that you will grow and yes, eventually attain that IPO that people are wishing for you so early on in the game. So thanks a lot. Is there any last statement you want to make? Otherwise, all I can do is thank you. It's been an interesting. We've had Zoom has been full. 100. We only allowed 100 people, and there've been 100 people throughout. It's just started going down, and then we've had about 90 people on Facebook on one platform, but people have got watch parties on several other platforms. So I'm sure everybody will be talking about Munchies today.
Thank you, Jehan, for staging it. Really appreciate. I think it's been lovely and a great experience.
Great to have you, and maybe we'll put you together with Food Panda on a panel sometime to see how, let's, have a few partners on the platform and see, where the discussion goes. It's always very interesting to do something like that. And maybe we can have, VentureDive and some other companies that are working in collaboration with large organizations, sharing stories. That might be another. Yeah, I'm thinking of new stories that new panels that we can come up with.
I just wanted to say that I think I'm the only person from Lahore. आप चारों कराची से हो, right?
तो आप ये आपके है ना, आप लाहौर से लोगों को लाए।
तो मंचीज को लाहौर में लाना है हमने पहले। But yes, inshallah, big cities as well as small cities. That's the goal.
Thank you very much. It's been great talking to you, and I now know a lot more about Munchies than I did when we started the discussion at 5 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye.